Hi, everyone. I'm Steve. I've been a gym rat for 50 years. I'm with Brian Sanchez, who has been a power lifter and a gym rat for a long time himself, right?
46 years.
Yeah. So that means I was 13
I was
when I was
12.
sneaking in the gym. So, Brian, thanks for being here.
Glad to be here.
All right. So we're going to talk about splits. And what do we mean by that? Frequency, sets, reps. Frequency being how many times you're going to work a body part in a week. Is it going to be twice? Is it going to be once? The famous bro split, one muscle um, every, every week, you split it up in 6, 7 days or whatever, 5 days. And some of the traditional splits, 4-day splits and so on. And we just did a video on peptides, what we're looking at, what we use, and so on. So if you guys have questions, put them in the comment section. I know sometimes it's hard to understand the details that maybe we're going into, and you need a little more explanation. So just put those questions in the comment section and we'll get back to you. So I have really been doing this for 50 years and I've done it so many different ways. I've done a push pull legs 6-day split, where I'm working every body part twice a week, push legs pull. That's Monday, Wednesday, or Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you do it again. That is too much stress on my nervous system at age 63. It's too much because even though, like, for instance, last Monday, I did a really intense leg workout for an older guy, and it affected my next couple workouts. So my body was still trying to recover psychologically, physically, neurologically from what I did. So you guys hear me say this all the time. And again, we're not pros, but we're people that have worked out a lot, a long time, and have done a lot of our own research and tried just about everything. I've tried just about everything in the gym. So the split, and this is the most important thing, your intensity has to match your recovery. So by the time you're ready to work in the same body part again, you want to be completely recovered so that you can break down the muscle again and recover again. So that's the idea. Now, Brian, why don't you you go first. Give us an idea of what you're doing as far as your split. What do you do Monday? Are you Monday through Friday, a 5-day split, or?
In theory, yes, but I break it up in the week. It is 5 days, but I break it up in the week. Now, I've transitioned over the years. I've done several different versions of workouts depending on what I'm doing in life and where I'm at. I've tried everything like you, from classes to total body workouts to upper lower splits with a total combined. Blast one muscle and don't touch it for 7 days. I've moved away from the only important things in life are bench press, squat, and deadlift. I've now expanded my mindset to other things in this world. So currently right now, I'm still a big time believer in I don't work out my arms by themselves. It kind of goes back to, we did a
You don't work
video.
your biceps.
I do work them, but I don't work them by themselves. It goes back to a video we did when I was asked a question about shrugs. Are they overrated? Well, I don't see any, when I do arms, I don't see a caloric value in the burn side of things that I want, because I work out as hard as I do just to stay as fat as I am, if that can make sense, because I'm an eater. And so I want a calorie burn every time I'm working out. So I don't just do like certain things. Now, when it's compound exercises, like squats or deadlifts where you've got a lot of things going on, I do kind of change my approach. I do mix those with some other things as well. So here's my routine. In a 5-day period, I will do a chest day, but I'm not just, flat chest work. I do 3 zones of chest, upper, lower, and flat. And I
And
work.
what exercises do you do? An incline, a flat, and a decline,
I do. I will always do, whether it be a dumbbell. I change it up. I
or
don't
a
always do.
fly?
Yeah. I don't always just do. Let me correct this. I always flat bench. It's my favorite thing to do on a chest day. So I will always flat bench. Now, that does not mean I use a barbell every time. Some days I will use dumbbells. Some days I will use our machines. Where here at the Parkway,
Plate loaded.
we got some incredible plate loading machines for chest work. So I do a flat. I do an incline. I do a decline in every time I hit the zone. But I also incorporate flies and dips and pullovers and multiple exercises to really engulf the chest in its entirety. But I like to use free weights with a lot of this as well, so that everything stabilizes. I am one of those kind of believers that, you know, you got to learn how to balance the work. And so if I'm using dumbbells, I think I get better balance work out of dumbbells than I do a flat dumbbell chest than I would do with a machine chest press. So those are some of the things that I'll throw in there. And I'll do different versions of dumbbells. I'll do single arm chest presses. I'll do double arms. I'll do alternating. I'll do what I call a 3-0, which you go left, right, then together. So there's all kinds of things you can do. So that's my chest. My next rotation will be shoulder and arms. That's where I put my arms in. And I do it in a mini circuit format in which I am hitting, let's just say I will start out with a form of a military press, either in a barbell setting, machine setting with the same theory, or dumbbell setting, depending on which day I choose it. Cause I always mix them up. I always want that balance work. And then I'll incorporate triceps and biceps with that press. So I'll do the shoulder, bicep, tricep, shoulder, bicep, tricep. And I will choose up to, let's just say the one I did this week, I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 11 different exercises that I was doing to work my shoulders and arms. My next rotation comes into my back day, but in my back day, I incorporate deadlifts. So I do what I would now call a moderate deadlift,
You're
where I
doing that
work,
with your lat pull.
yes, on my lat day. So I go into my deadlifts because I do like to incorporate it in the back, because I don't want to deadlift and do legs on the same day. And I want a big recovery between those two exercises. I want at least 48 hours between a squat or a leg press and a deadlift. And so because of the posterior chain and the lower back work and the glute work that comes in with the deadlift, I then incorporate my entire back with it, where I'm doing lat pull downs, where I'm doing lat flexes is what I call them. It's just a rope technique that you've all seen. I just call it different things. I'm doing rows. I'm doing T-bars. I'm doing bent rows. All the traditional things, when I incorporate it, I don't always do the same exercises, but I incorporate them all in together. I will do deadlifts as a solo lift, and then I do mini circuits in my back, where I'll do several different back exercises. Then my next rotation is a core alternative day. That's where I get out. I work my core extensively, and then I go into kettlebell work, and I go into medicine ball work, and I go into band work, and I work those all together in that day. And then I do a leg split. Now, I don't isolate the leg muscle in that as well. I don't do a quad day. I don't do a hamstring. I actually tear it down until let's just blast the entirety of the leg. So I'm working front, back, interior, exterior, abduction, adduction, squats. I'll use alternative methods, Bosu ball, balance work, you name it, but it all goes into the leg day. And I use combinations of weights, body weight, machines, free weights, bands. So that's kind of where I'm at with that, Steve. Now, is that for everybody? No. Is it a traditional bro lift? Probably not.
Close.
It's close to it. Where I do some things differently is maybe some more of the combination. But I think what's important to understand is I'm not trying to be a bodybuilder. If I'm a bodybuilder, I'd be really way more cautious in which part of the chest or which part of the shoulder or which part of the back, whether I'm hitting my quad different, whether I'm hitting my hamstring. Then I would probably really change my approach for something like that. So I'm getting that isolation, and I'd probably be doing a lot more exercises. I can get my workouts done in probably 45 minutes to an hour max. And I'm out of the gym and I'm exhausted. And I do agree. Steve said something where your recovery does have to match that intensity, vice versa. It's got to be that way. So I crush that zone. I do that workout, and then I don't hit that area again till the following week. So I do have about a 7-day break on that split, Steve.
Okay, so what I'm doing right now is I'm doing an upper lower split basically. However, I hit my
Nice.
shoulders pretty hard with my legs. So that's Monday, Thursday. And I also rotate the exercises. So the leg exercises I do on Monday are different than the ones I do on Thursday.
Good
And
idea.
then the upper body is different on Tuesday than it is on Friday. And then on Wednesday, I do kind of an active recovery. I guess you could call it that. I do farmer's carries and I push a sled forward and back. I push it, I pull it, and I blast my calves on Wednesday because they need it. So that's what I'm doing. I'm a 5-day split. And that Wednesday is kind of an active recovery where I'm just hitting a couple muscles, but I hit them pretty hard. And I'm doing some,
That's kind of like my alternative day then.
yeah. And so I'm doing some high intensity interval training on Wednesday, which I usually push the sled every day. I'm in there at least 2 to 5 times, forward the length of the room and then pull it back the length of the room 5 times and take a good 2 minutes rest in between. But the recovery has to match. For instance, last Monday, I did an intense leg workout. I'm doing some peptides. I think it's in my head a little bit. I'm going to push it a little harder and see if I can really recover with these peptides that I'm using. You guys have questions, put them in the comment section if you want to, or if you have questions on what I'm doing or what Brian's doing. And I'm 63 right now. So my leg workout was pretty intense. Why? Because I did safety bar squats. I got a bar on my back and I pushed it pretty hard. I did some pretty heavy hack squats and I was feeling that the next couple days. Now, I wasn't feeling as much as soreness in my legs, but I was just feeling it overall, just my nervous system. I just felt like I needed rest. So a really hard leg day will affect working your chest the next day. So you've got to be aware of that. That's really important to let it match and know when you do this for a long time, you know when you need to rest a little bit. And so today, Thursday, I did belt squats and that was so different because the weight was not on my bar or the weight was not on my bar. The bar was not on my back. How about that? So I did belt squats. And so there's no bar on your back when you do belt squats, but I blasted my legs and I felt different. I didn't have the stress on my whole nervous system, on my whole body, where I was just exhausted from having the bar on my back. And same with hack squats, where you're just kind of your upper body's a little bit involved. And that felt really good to really hit the legs hard. I'll throw in some deadlifts like on a Thursday and some belt squats and some lunges and stuff like that. And every time I do legs, I've been doing leg extensions, a couple warm up sets, and then 2 or 3 pretty intense leg extension sets. It's easier to be intense with your leg extensions. It's easier to do those more intensely than it is a squat. I mean, I never take squats to failure where I need a spotter or I'm dropping the bar on the braces. I don't do that. It's too much. It's been rare for me to do that throughout my 50 years of being a gym rat. I haven't done that. So that's kind of what I do. And then on Tuesday and Friday, I work the upper body. I do chest and back and triceps and biceps. And then I throw my calves in there quite a bit. And that's an easier workout for me. I don't hammer my chest like I hit my legs. Like Brian, he hammers his chest. I don't do that with my chest, but I hit my back pretty hard. Lat pulls, T-bar rows, stuff like that. But the chest, I'm not trying to develop it. Got plenty of chest. When I was a kid, I wanted the biggest chest. So it worked. I kind of developed my chest pretty well, and now I'm just kind of on cruise control. But some of my chest, I use a lot of the plate loaded chest machines, but I only do one. Like I might do a decline one day, and then the next time I might do an incline. I really like the incline because of what it does for the shoulders, because I really emphasize my shoulders. But just because I'm maybe 5 sets total on my chest in a workout, that doesn't mean a couple of those sets are pretty intense, even though I'm only doing a total of 5 sets. At least a couple of them are pretty intense twice a week. So that's what I'm doing right now. I've done different rotations, but I think it's important to change the exercises and know, like, I didn't do squats today because I could feel, again, my legs weren't sore, but my body was fatigued from my leg workout on Monday. And as you get better at this, you'll learn that. It's good to work with a personal trainer who can give you a second opinion and help you understand this and ask you a lot of questions and say, okay, we're going to do this today instead of that. Because your exercise, as you get good at this, wouldn't you say, Brian, every single day you're going in, you're modifying your workout a little different than what you actually thought you were going to do that's on paper. Don't you think if you're smart, you're modifying it a little bit to line up with what your body needs and the recovery? Recovery is critical.
Well, I think what you're saying, Steve, is you listen to your body. It's extremely important. If you go into the gym and you know that you just don't have the push you thought you were going to have, and you decide that you're going to go at killer weights, you're asking for an injury to occur. So I do think you have to make adjustments as you're doing your workout. The difference, though, everybody, is Steve and I both go in with a plan into the gym. We know what we're going to do when we go in there. So when we make slight adjustments, we know exactly why we're making them based on what our body's telling us. Then we can make the quick adjustment, whether it be how many sets, whether we're going to adjust the product we're going to use and things like that. But I do got a question for you, Steve, because I find it really interesting because I haven't used the belt squat machine. I want to try it. I just haven't got to it. For those of you, we have one here at the Carson City Parkway. It's a fantastic machine. I'm
One
watching
in
people use
Sparks
it.
too.
Was there one in Sparks? Great. Come to Carson. We love you here. Anyways, they love you in Sparks too. I'm just kidding. But did you find, Steve, that it could, because the nervous system didn't get hit the same way it would in like a really gnarly squat setup, do you find that you could trick yourself into thinking you could come back quicker off of that leg day because you didn't have the same nervous system effect? Because I know you smoke your legs. And so I don't think you probably went light at all on your, what I'm talking about is the load, your intensity, the volume of reps that you did. I know you smashed them on the belt squat. Do you think if you're not paying attention, you don't know what you know, that you could come back too quickly and attack those legs again too soon?
I think it would be hard, because that's an interesting question. I think it would be hard because it feels so different when you're doing a heavy squat and you're even getting over 6, 7 reps with a heavy squat, 8 reps. That taxes your cardiovascular system. I mean, your lungs. It taxes your head. It taxes everything in your body, and it hits you mentally. So comparing it to the belt squat was exactly what I needed today. When I used that belt squat, I could take it to failure because I'll grab the handles there on the belt squat. I think I did a short. You can go back and see how the belt squat works.
Yeah, I did see that. Yes.
So you're going butt to heels for one, which you're really getting a stretch. When you're going butt to heels, that's a lot of depth. And so you're getting a full range of motion. I pumped out about maybe 7 reps. I didn't know how many I could do, but at about 7, it was like really tough to lock it out. I couldn't have done another one. So I took it to failure. I did that 3 times. And I do not feel the same as I did Monday after doing that with squats, where with the squats, I probably left at least 3 or 4 in the tank, which means I could have done 3 or 4 more. With the belt squat, I couldn't have done one more because, I helped myself up with those handles and I feel way fresher and it feels like I'm going to recover way better than when I did the squats. Does that mean don't do squats? No. That's the point of doing squats, is how it taxes your body and it taxes your whole system. But I was smart about it today and I did the belt squats and got a great range of motion, blasted my quads. Josh, our director of training, said he did some belt squats and he goes, man, that just thrashed my quads. And that's what it does. But yet you don't have the bar on your back and it's different. It feels different and it feels better. And so now Monday, I'm going to be ready to do squats again.
I think that's interesting. And what I take from that too, everybody, is that again, he's changing up the exercises, in his program. He's not just doing squats and that's all he does. And it's important to trick that muscle. Now, I understand you want to load and you want to try to get heavier if you're trying to power lift or you're trying to reach maximums and things like that. And Steve and I have a different approach nowadays. We're past those days of trying to pick up the biggest thing in the gym. But I find it very interesting that you can blast it so hard because I do squats. I don't do anything like I used to do. I do a lot of repetition work with my squats. And like Steve, everybody, I don't take it to exhaustion in the sense of putting everything on there when it comes to overall weight. In fact, I don't increase to really heavy weights with a squat because my body can't take it, quite frankly, anymore like I used to. Either way, I think too, what you're going to find too when it comes to that recovery is if you can find a pattern to change out those exercises, for those of you that are in plateaus, if you continue to do the same thing, you're going to find your body may shift and start really responding well because you're changing some of those exercises. And if you use proper recovery, you'll definitely see the adjustment and gains.
You know what I know you're going to appreciate this about the belt squat. You're spotting yourself.
That's huge.
Yes, because you grab the handles and on that last repetition, I used my arms a little bit to nudge myself up to the top. That's failure. But yet it didn't feel like I was doing squats to failure, to where you just collapse on the ground. You do squats to failure, you're going to just collapse and lay on the ground for 5 minutes, right? If you really, really push it. You could do that on the belt squat because you don't have that intensity or pressure on the nervous system. But yet I just bumped myself up on that last rep and it felt really good because of that. Make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And in fact, when you look at safety in the gym, one of the things I cringe about, I know we're kind of moving off with what I'm going to say off the topic of recovery, but when you look at safety in the gym, I cringe when I see some of these young athletes who take all the safety equipment off and do these heavy, heavy squats. And they got 2 and 3 guys on them trying to spot them. If you use that belt squat, sounds like you can get tremendous results. And then you don't have to have all this stuff around you. I would never, even in the light weights that I use, do squats on my shoulders without safety equipment around me, unless I'm just using the bar or maybe even a plate. But even when you start adding weights, it's a dangerous, dangerous thing to do. But anyways, it's a little off topic, but I love the thought of that belt squat.
Yeah, and I can tell I'm going to recover faster. So I'm
That's
excited
cool.
about. Yeah, for sure. I'll be ready to go on Monday. All right. So Brian, as always, thanks for being with us, and we will talk to you next time.
Take care, everybody. Great conversation today, Steve. We'll see you soon.